Hello, I'm Nathan Brook. I'm the program coordinator for the Work Ethic Certificate at Greenfield-Central High School. And I'm really excited today. I am joined by Mr. Fred Payne. He is the Commissioner of the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. And I just want to say thank you for being here this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've invited you here today to talk about Work Ethic Certificate, the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate, kind of from a statewide perspective. And so just to begin, just so that we kind of understand and our audience understands, can you give me just a basic overview of your department's role, just kind of overall, but also your role in the Work Ethic Certificate?
Okay, I will. So our agency, the Indiana Department of Workforce Development, is the state agency that's responsible for workforce training. We provide training for individuals entering the workforce for the first time, many of whom are graduating high school, some of whom graduated high school a short time ago. We also provide resources for those individuals who are re-entering into the workforce, who've been out of it for some time.
Okay.
And thirdly, we provide resources for those individuals who are actually in the workforce, but they want to increase their job skills. So we provide resources for each one of those groups of people. And our agency, as it relates to the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate, we are the providers of that program. We started the program because we feel that it is a real employability and job skills a lesson and something that students really need to learn to have a vibrant workforce life.
Yeah, and we've been excited to be able to be a part of that and kind of know a little bit about how it started kind of locally, but then it became the governor's program, and your program, your department's facilitating that. How did they jump on board with that? How did they come to know about that and get started with that?
So the agency, the DWD, actually started the program back in 2006.
Okay.
And at the time, it didn't get enough visibility and sustainability to continue on.
Yeah.
But then back in 2016, we reinvigorated and took a model from the greater Clark County schools. They had a program that focused on employability skills and getting individuals ready for the workforce. So we reinvigorated the program, we took that model, and then we scaled it statewide. We started with about 18 schools, and now we have over 160 schools.
Over 160 schools, okay. So I assume there's lots of schools around the country that have soft skills development, but do we know of any other states that are doing anything like what we're doing here in Indiana with Work Ethic Certificate?
There are a few states, and this is more of an emerging trend because more states and more employers are realizing that in addition to the technical skills that students are getting in school, they also need to have the soft skills, the employability skills, the skills that require students to show up on time, to be really committed to just being there and then really learning the craft and the trades. So that's a growing trend, a growing acknowledgement across the country. Specific programs are popping up all over the place, but we really believe that our program here in Indiana is unique because it has its roots really in the K through 12 space, and we've taken it and we've scaled it statewide.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly proud of Indiana and proud of the schools that are participating. I think it's been a really cool thing to have this partnership of schools and businesses and state working together to develop soft skills for our kids. So it's been exciting, and I'm glad to hear we're kind of on the front edge there, compared to others. So from your perspective, this kind of statewide perspective, what do you see as the value of this program for the state and for the kids that are participating, but also then for the employers that we're hoping to connect these kids with the right skills?
So we believe that in order to have a strong workforce development system overall, we need to have strong characteristics. One of those characteristics is engagement. There has to be engagement between businesses, between educators, and between community and government. And our Governor's Work Ethic Certificate is one way that we ensure that there's a direct connectivity with our education process and our business leaders. Because our Work Ethic Certificate, it guarantees that the individual is having some interaction with an employer on a periodic basis. So the value is that the student who has earned a Governor's Work Ethic Certificate, he has had some interaction with an employer. That employer has had an opportunity to see the students operate and function in a work-like environment. And those students who earn them, they are 100% work ready.
Right. And I would say from our perspective, it's really given our business community a good entrance into our schools and a really good chance for them to express exactly what they want out of their workforce. Whereas before, I'm not sure they had that in the way that they have that now. And that's one of the benefits I don't know that we realized would be part of the program, and something we've seen take off that's been really exciting. And also for our kids to be able to have some of those connections with businesses and understand from their perspective what it is they should be doing. So it's been really cool to see that evolve over the past couple of years that we've been a part of. So I actually received some information about the program from your department just this past week. And so you mentioned a little bit about this. 16-17, the school year, was the pilot year.
Yes.
8 schools and 788 participants.
Yes.
And then we jumped on in 17-18, Greenfield-Central participated that year. That was 105 schools and over 5,000 participants. And then this most recent school year, 18-19, was 160 schools and over 8,000 participants. And I don't want to forget to mention, over 500 businesses in Indiana, employers are involved at some level of providing incentives. That's a key part. We don't want to overlook that. How would you like to see this program grow? What goals do you have for it over the remainder of Governor Holcomb's term and into a potential second term? You know, what do you guys want to see this do in terms of scale and other opportunities it might offer?
Right. Right now, we have a lot of momentum with the program because employers are seeing the value in it, students are seeing the value in it,
Right.
and our schools are seeing the value in it. So what we want to do is, at minimum, we want to double the amount of students and schools that we have involved in the program.
Right.
Quite frankly, every student should be graduating with these types of skills.
Yeah.
And some of them are now without the certificate.
Sure.
So I want to make sure that we're giving credit to the schools that are doing this and who may not be a part of the program. So we acknowledge that schools are doing great things all across our state, but specifically as it relates to this program, we'd like to scale it more. We'd like for it to continue to grow, and we'd like to maintain the momentum that we have today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that we try and promote too as the program, is that you might be doing these without the certificate. Go ahead and do the program
Right.
and earn the certificate. It's a really good way for you to show employers that you've got these soft skills. And that's important. You know, that's important, and it's hard for us to sometimes explain to kids how important that is once they leave high school and are looking for employment for the remainder of their lives. So that's something we're helping to promote too. So I do want to shift gears just a little bit, just in terms of workforce overall, kind of back to your main function. You know, what are the workforce needs for Indiana over the next several years? And I guess to frame it, you know, if I'm a high school kid and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to graduate here in a couple of years or in a year, what do I need to be doing to prepare myself for the future Indiana workforce so that I fit in and I'm going to be productive and competitive in that?
So over the next 10 years, we will have in Indiana more than 1 million jobs to fill.
That's a lot.
So first, that lets us know that there's opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity there. But it also lets us know how competitive it is and it's going to be. So as a student, our students should really focus on really learning their core craft, identify what they want to do.
Yeah.
And we as a state, we want to make sure that we are providing the student and those influencers in their lives, their parents and those supportive people around them, we want to provide them with all of the information necessary so that they can make the best decision on which pathway that they take.
Right.
The one thing I think is important for students to know is that there's no one way to get to your goal.
Yeah.
There are a variety of pathways. If a person wants to become a doctor, there's a pathway for that. If a person wants to be an engineer, there's a pathway for that.
Sure.
If someone wants to be a teacher, a pathway for that. So we need to provide them with the information needed to make those decisions. But the students should really leave school with some idea on which path they want to take, which is why we have in place now a new graduation pathways,
Absolutely.
which helps students to start exploring what they think they may want to do, what they may be good at.
Yeah.
But then it also helps to set them up with some plan post-high school. We know over the next, probably by 2025,
Okay.
65% of the jobs in the nation will require some type of post-secondary credential.
Yeah.
So we have a goal in Indiana to ensure that 60% of our people who live in Indiana have some type of post-secondary credential by that time. So that lets us know one thing: talent alone is not going to get it.
Okay.
There has to be some type of documentation that the student or that the individual has the skills and technical ability necessary to compete, not only in this state, but globally.
Sure.
Because even though a person lives in the state of Indiana, they could have clients across the globe with our technology.
Absolutely.
So students should really focus on those core classes. The career and technical ed centers within our high schools are a good place to make sure that they hone in on some of those skills, but don't lose sight of those soft skills.
Right, right. And to Indiana's credit, they've put a lot of resources behind soft skills, but also education.
Yes.
And helping to provide those pathways for students and, like you mentioned earlier, maybe adults who are wanting to get into new training opportunities. So that's been exciting to see. So,
Absolutely.
And finally, what else can schools like Greenfield-Central, and other high schools around the state, what can we or what should we be doing to help create a competitive Indiana workforce? I don't want to miss anything that maybe you guys think that we should be doing. So this is kind of your chance to say, hey, I've always wanted to tell a school this.
Okay. Well, as I started early, I mentioned those core characteristics, the strong ones. I mentioned one in particular, the engagement.
Yeah.
The engagement between businesses, between schools, and between our government and our community. There's another characteristic that is just as strong, and that's appropriate training and education. Sure. Every student, every person, when they leave school, is going to need some type of training and education.
I agree. Yeah.
And training and education is not episodic; it is lifelong.
Yeah.
And I think as our schools continue to educate our students, our leaders of tomorrow, to really continue to focus on what they're good at, and what they're really good at is educating our students and getting them prepared for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But make sure that we are engaging with our government and our business community, because that's what's going to help inform the type of training and the type of education needed for those individuals coming out of our schools today for them to compete tomorrow.
Right, right. We can't think of them as silos, education and business and government. They have to be coordinating in terms of what the needs are for our state.
Right, you're absolutely right. And we have some wonderful teachers around our state. We have some wonderful businesses around our state. And one of the things that I really enjoy seeing when I see a group of educators in a room with a group of business leaders, and I see them talking, and I see how a lot of creativity is going on, and then what comes out of that.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your department's support of the program and you coming all the way down here to Greenfield-Central today to talk with me. So I just want to thank you again, Commissioner Fred Payne, Indiana Department of Workforce Development. So if you'd like more information on the Governor's Work Ethics Certificate, you can contact me at the information on the screen. Thank you.